It was a typical commute home for Sarah. A long day, a crowded train, and a desperate craving for silence. But tonight, something was different. On the seat across from her lay a smartphone. No case, no markings, just a faint glow from the screen. She hesitated. It was easy to ignore lost things in the city, but innocent, right? Just a lost item. Or so she thought. She glanced around. No one seemed to notice it or care. Maybe it belonged to someone who got off earlier. Her fingers hovered over it. Should she pick it up? No one even seemed to notice the phone. She picked it up, turning it over in her hand. It wasn't locked. Strange. As she touched the phone, the screen lit up. A single message glared back at her. The message was simple, yet unsettling. You picked it up. Good. You're on the 6th train, heading north. Her stomach dropped. She looked around. How did it know? The doors opened at the next stop, and she almost put it back. But something about it held her attention. Sarah clutched the phone tighter. Was it tracking her? Did someone set this up as a prank? Her own phone buzzed in her pocket, but she ignored it. This phone felt different. As if it had been waiting for her. The train rocked gently, and she got up to let someone pass. As she stood by the door, the phone vibrated again. Another message appeared. You're standing now by the door. Her breath caught. Her eyes darted to the other passengers. No one seemed to be watching her, but she could feel it. Eyes on her. She wanted to scream, but thought better of it. Coincidence, she whispered to herself. But deep down, she knew it wasn't. At the next stop, the subway screeched to a stop. Without a second thought, she stepped off, hoping to leave the unease behind. Sarah bolted out of the train. Her heart pounded as she clung to the phone, her heartbeat drowning out the sounds around her. Then, the phone vibrated again. This time, the message chilled her. It read, "Leaving the train won't help, Sarah." She froze. Whoever was sending these knew her name. How? Was it someone she knew? A coworker? A neighbor? Her pulse quickened as she looked around, the city suddenly feeling hostile and unfamiliar. Then she saw him. A man in a dark coat standing at the corner. He wasn't moving, just watching. His gaze was fixed on her. Then the phone vibrated and the message on the screen read, "He's watching you, run!" Sarah's legs moved before her brain caught up. She sprinted up the stairs onto the street and down the nearest alley. Her breaths were sharp and shallow, her chest tight with fear. The man in the coat followed, his steps unhurried but deliberate. The phone vibrated once more. The message was a direction this time. Turn right now. Without thinking, she obeyed, slipping into a narrow alley. Her lungs burned as she ducked behind a dumpster. The man's shadow stretched across the pavement. She held her breath. The shadow stopped, then moved away. She waited a full minute before daring to exhale. Was this person guiding her or leading her into a trap? Her hands shook as she read the next message. You're safe for now, but keep moving. They're close. Safe? With every step, the line between friend and foe blurred. The messages on the phone led her to an empty park. Mist rolled over the grass, and the dim glow of streetlights barely pierced the darkness. Her phone buzzed. She read the message on the screen. Look under the bench, it said. She hesitated, her fingers trembling as she knelt down. There, taped beneath the bench, was a small package. Her heartbeat thundered in her ears as she unwrapped it. The note was clear. You've been targeted. Stay off your usual route. I'll find you when it's safe. Her heart pounded in her chest. The lost phone vibrated one final time. With dread, she looked at the screen. The message said, "He's here!" A sudden chill ran down her spine. She turned, and there he was, the man in the dark coat. Sarah is frozen in terror as the man looms behind her. He stepped closer, and the phone buzzed again. "Don't let him touch you!" Sarah stumbled back, clutching the phone like a lifeline. The man reached for her, but before he could grab her, the ground beneath him shifted. He fell to the ground, disappearing into the mist. Sarah's legs trembled, barely holding her upright. She couldn't shake the feeling that someone, or something, was still watching her. She glanced at the phone one last time, its screen glowing faintly in the darkness. Her fingers hovered over it, unsure whether to hold on or throw it far away. The phone vibrated violently in her hand, startling her. A new message appeared. It's not over. Her chest tightened. The words seemed to scream at her, louder than her own frantic heartbeat. She stumbled back, dropping the phone. It landed with a soft thud on the damp grass. She wanted to run, but her legs felt like lead. The phone buzzed again, the sound cutting through the silence of the park like a knife. Slowly, she looked down. Who will be next? The words glared up at her, their meaning heavier than she could bear. Her breath hitched as a low, guttural laugh echoed faintly through the mist. She whipped her head around, but the park was empty. Or so it seemed. The laugh grew louder, closer. The phone buzzed one last time. Run! She didn't think. She didn't breathe. She just ran, her feet pounding against the wet grass. The sound of her own heartbeat echoed in her ears. And she knew this was far from over. Thank you for joining us on another journey with Tales Time. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with other story lovers.